Hey there, folks. John Duffin here, Duffin Media. Thanks so much for joining me and hanging out with me. We're getting started a couple minutes later than I had planned. Minor technical snafu, Wi-Fi related, but so what? We are here, and I am thrilled to be here. Guess what we get to do today, folks? We get to optimize your communications by leveraging your voice, tips, techniques, tricks, the whole enchilada to make sure that you are at your best. It's not just sounding your best. It's your ability to do your best, to garner the results that are so damn important. Close the deals, build the relationships, get the job, keep your seat at the boardroom. Now, today, every day, what I want to do is to be able to instill value, short, quick hits, to make sure that when you walk away today, that you have the ability to be able to use the technique to improve your performance today. Measurable results immediately. That's what we're looking to do, and that's what we are all about here at Duffin Media, right? So, right off the bat, what I would say is this. We're always thrilled that you're here. I'm going to start with a question that I often ask. However, you're going to see that this is going to tie to the central theme today of any questions. That's where we're headed, folks. So look, the heads up. I'm always curious. Have you ever had a conversation, a presentation, an encounter in business where you felt that you were just on it, crushing it, hitting things out of the park, and every other cliche that you could throw, but yet you received either surprisingly negative feedback or even worse, no feedback at all, right? And you just couldn't figure out why. Anyone ever have that happen to them before? Well, I certainly did. But here's what we want to talk about today, right? Which is simply this. Reminders. If you were here yesterday or the day before, I talk about doing your homework, preparing properly, making certain that when you have these important conversations, and folks, every conversation is an important conversation, okay? Every single one. So when you have them, that you are buttoned up so that when you speak, you naturally speak with confidence. And we talk about talking to people, not talking at people. So we're going to start right off the bat with a situation and a question, okay? We're going to add immediate value, right? So here is our game day situation today. And this is all in the form of a question, all right? So we're back at it. Labor Day's behind us. It's technically not fall, but it feels like it. And we are now sprinting toward our September goals and our fourth quarter goals and our 2025 business plans and blah, 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 right? Well, here's an example. You got a big meeting coming up, big client meeting coming up soon. Maybe it's the end of this week, right? And the client brings up the scenario, the ever popular. They want to see some information on your company and a proposal. Bring me a proposal, right? And you're like, okay, problem is they've given you no information. They've agreed, let's say by email, right? Hey, sure, come on in. Can you make it Friday at 2:00? Bring me your best pricing. Have you ever heard that before? Anyone? Bring me your best pricing and some information on the company. And you're like, okay, sure. Now what? So here's a question I pose to you, several as a matter of fact. What do you do? What questions do you ask? What information do you provide? In the question asking mode, when do you ask these questions? These are thought starters because, folks, this is going to happen to you all the time. This happened to me all the time, still does, as a matter of fact. In my career as entrepreneur, business coach, voice coach, sales trainer, I get this constantly. However, what I also recall is in the over 25 years that I was in the broadcast digital streaming ad space for television and radio, this was a constant. right? Just bring me your best pricing. I'll see you Friday at 2. And so questions that I've heard asked. Well, would you like me to bring anything? What would you, or, even better. So what would you like me to bring as the all excited sales rep? And you run into your sales manager. I got the big meeting with blah, blah, blah furniture, 2:00 on Friday. And your sales management team, your executive team, they're all excited. Great. Can I come? I was also a manager. So the first thing we'd want to do is get in the way and show up with you. Anyone ever have that happen to them? Listen, we always intended to do the right thing, right? But we would just like load up a clown car and hop in your car, even worse, and then drive if you're the salesperson. Here's the thing I want to instill right away. The key is this. You have to earn the right to ask a question. You have to earn the right to get an answer. So if you remember nothing else from today, remember this. The questions that you ask, even more importantly, the timing of those questions will determine your outcome. Okay? So I'm going to play a little game today with you, folks. And by the way, as I said again, we're going to repeat that one more time. The questions you ask, and even more importantly, the timing of when you ask those questions will determine your overall outcome. All right? So always remember that. You have to earn the right to get an answer from an advertiser. They are not required by law to provide you anything but an opportunity. That goes like with interviews, promotions, advancements. You have to earn the right to get it. So, hey, folks, so the Olympics concluded a few weeks ago, and rah, rah, rah. I didn't take anything from NBC, by the way. Just know that. These are stock photos. I didn't want NBC coming at me for the rights to their Olympic pictures. But I'm showing you a starting gate, the middle point of a race, and the finish line. Remember, folks, you're not typically either the only senior executive, you're not typically the only salesperson that's trying to cross that finish line. You've got to earn that right. So I talk about questions in this little game. Now, by the way, folks, no rules, but simply this. Remember, if you are watching me on Facebook Live, fantastic. Welcome. Drop a note in the comments and put your answer in the comments because I'll see it. Then I can cheer you on. Same deal with LinkedIn, YouTube as well. If you're watching me on LinkedIn Live or YouTube Live, great and thank you. Drop a note in the comment. Let me know that you're here. I know how many people are here. I just don't know who until I see comments. All right. So whether it's live or on the replay, drop a note in the comments. I definitely get them. So here's a question for you. Right or wrong, and when would you ask the question? And look at the starting gate, the middle point of the race, or at the end and equate that to business, right? The beginning of the relationship, at the big meeting, when you're asking for the order, say the finish line, right? Or closing the deal. Let's just pretend those are the 3 checkpoints. There's a million others. Let's just stay there, okay? So, question. Here's one. What would you like me to bring? Would you like some coffee? I could bring you coffee. Would you like that? How many people should I bring coffee for? When would you ask that question? I don't blame you for not putting in comments. It's such a lightweight question. It's gracious. It's nice. People like coffee. You could ask that pretty much anytime you want, but will it advance a relationship? Maybe. But I'm going to help you a little bit more. That's great. I would probably put that at the beginning. How many people are coming to the meeting and how much coffee and snacks should I buy? I'm going to put my cursor here at the beginning point. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's a gracious touch. Doesn't get you far unless the people love coffee. Here's a second question that we're going to go with, folks, right? So, question. I've gone through your website and I'm noticing that you've got a big push towards a fall campaign. Is that still of importance to you, or is there anything else I should focus on for the meeting? Where would you ask that question? Well, you certainly wouldn't ask the question when you're sitting in front of them, right? By the way, thank you, John McBride. And anybody who uses the word unctuous is, to me, such a rock star. The announcer to the Stars, John McBride, is here, so I am already flattered. Calls all the coolest things, including the Broad Street Run, where we first met, and a million other Philadelphia sporting events, baseball, football, all of them. Anyway, a question of a little more substance I would probably put at the beginning, because someone may respect the fact, oh my God, they've actually done a little bit of homework. And what do I mean by the beginning? I'll make it simple. Meaning, before you get there on Friday at 2 p.m., okay, is a great setup question. It has a lot more emphasis, weight, than how many coffees should I bring? And do you like donuts? And don't get me started on the donuts thing that's been going around recently in Philadelphia, but that's another story. But question that could get you an answer that you could use. I did a little bit of homework. I checked something out. Folks, the second tidbit that I'm going to take with you today always is this. Within your organization, you have a job, you want to keep your job. You want to get promoted. You want to keep your seat at the boardroom. You want to advance a client relationship. You want to really kill at client service. Here's the lifeline. Here's the life lesson. It's not just the timing of the questions and the depth of the questions, but always this. Does this make my client's job easier or harder as a result of me asking the question? And the answer always has to be easier, okay? You are there to make your bosses, your board members, your clients, your companies, you're there to make their job easier. If they have to do all kinds of work to help you, chances are good that promotion, probably not. We're going to go with Sally because she actually asks in-depth questions as opposed to Johnny's lightweight, do you like coffee? Okay, so asking questions that demonstrate you've done some work. Ask that at the very beginning, okay? Do the homework, do the work, research the client. Ask leading questions, especially when you're having difficulty communicating with that person. They don't want to be bothered. Just show up with your best pricing and whatever, because Friday at 2 o'clock's a great opportunity to get a checkmarked meeting done, to get you out of the office at 2:30 or whatever. When they tell you they have a hard stop at X, that's because they want to get their stuff done and get out the door. So you have to earn the right to stay. Before you move forward, you ask the detailed questions that demonstrates that you respect their time, their talent, and you're there to help them, okay? Second question. Where would you ask this question is the detail, right? So I gave you the first one. Question number 2. So after reviewing the information, and when you confirm to me that the fall campaign is really important, I wanted to put together a specific plan for you. But before I do, I simply want to know, am I seeing it correctly? I know this is a really long question. Am I seeing it correctly where you're currently on X television stations and you're on Y radio stations, and maybe you're buying some outside FM because you should, But the fact of the matter is, I've seen that. Am I missing anything before I formulate the plan? Would you ask that question at the setup? Would you ask it prior to showing up, or would you ask the question when you were in front of them? Check you out. And I am buying some outside FM just because you're a rock star, John McBride. But here you go. So that is absolutely. I'm so dating myself and aging myself if I give a Columbo reference, by the way. So I apologize in advance because most people are younger than me anymore. But you ever remember that show? And typically he would leave the scene of the crime and then come back and say, oh, yeah. Just one more thing. It's that kind of a question, right? This is one more. I have this almost right, but I want to make sure I have it exactly right. Oh, brother, you're the best. You're the best. Exactly. One more thing. One more thing before I show up. Why? Because I respect your time, client, boss, executives, board members, your team. Because I respect your time and talent, I'm not going to waste it. So I want to make certain I've got everything buttoned up. Put it before you show up. You're garnering respect. You'd be amazed, by the way, that people will get more talkative when you demonstrate you're trying to help them and you're not just a typical salesperson, or you're not just one more blowhard. Sorry, no offense, executive leaders. I was one. And technically as an entrepreneur, I still am one. So I'm not generalizing blowhards, by the way. But here's what I would say, right? So third timing question. And I don't know. I'll bet you get this right. Question. All right. So we've confirmed that you have a preference of working with digital streaming services. You'll do some television buying. You'll do some radio buying. I've laid out this basic plan based upon our conversations. It's the dollar amount you told me to do. It's the specifications you told me to look out for. And I want you to see it. Am I leaving anything out? Did I miss anything? When would you ask that question? Before you show up with your coffee at the midway point, or when you are seated in front of someone? Ding, 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 ding. Now you're at the finish line, folks. Now you're at the finish line. So you are demonstrating, I heard you. I respect you. I've earned it. And now I want to demonstrate that your time was well spent, and I'm going to deliver for you. Darn right, John McBride, right before you deliver the message across the finish line. Absolutely correct. Because, again, I want to go back to what I had said before, which is the timing. It's not just the questions you ask, it's when you ask them. It really becomes important. Folks, in this day and age, one of the things I was thinking about earlier that I really wanted to impress on everyone is this. We all want to race to the finish line. We've got heat on us. Even if you're faring well in your organization, you might be putting the pressure on yourself, right? I know a number of people, and I go through that currently right now as I build my business, continue to build my business and escalate. I still am thinking, oh, I got to move faster. I got to move further. I got to really manage my time well. You really want to manage your time well, folks? If you are talking for money, okay? This is anything that has to do with money, an important relationship. Anybody here? I've been talking to a lot of real estate people over the last few days, formally and informally. And I'll get to see a bunch more tomorrow, as a matter of fact, in Philadelphia. If anybody is here online, drop in. Drop me where you are, who you're with, and what you're up to today. But what I say is this. If it's a listing meeting, I'm asking you for the right to sell your home. I not only need to ask you good questions. I am never going to be the type to slop over some selfish, look at me proposal, right? Never. I don't want to be that guy that just shows up bringing me your best pricing. I have no idea what that means. All right. Typically, it means I need an excuse to talk to you and then gracefully boot you out the door. So I don't want that. So, my job, my mission for you is to help you move a little bit faster when you're communicating, right? Nothing stalls or stops a process. And I hate to keep using cliches, but I'm going to. I believe, if I remember correctly, the winner of the Olympic men 100-yard dash may have won by a 100th of a second. They were talking about his lean in was the only reason he won the race. So you looked at the finish line, there was like 3 across the board. You could have literally called any one of the 3 except for the lean in. So it is milliseconds where you have the right to earn someone's time, because it's not your time that matters, it's theirs. Okay? The right to earn their time then gives you the right to ask the right questions at the right time. A lot of time, right? And a lot of rights. But what I would say is this: the reason it's so important is so often you're cutting corners at the wrong point. You're just cutting corners. I so want to get to this point at the finish line. I so want to get there. I know what I want to do, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Or worse, you get so overwhelmed with all the things you'd like to do. Best year ever. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to crush my goals, that you can't get out of the starting block because you're just so overwhelmed with things. Okay. And as I said, nothing stops a relationship or a business conversation like asking the wrong question, asking selfish sorts of questions. Oh, don't you see the value in this? Or, oh, I thought you would have liked this opportunity. No? Here's another bonus, I'm going to call it. I don't know. I'm going to call it a bonus, right? Away from the timing. And it has to do with questions, okay? This is really, I believe, one of the things that I observe still in 2024. We're doing this in September. If you're watching me now or on a replay down the line, whenever, look, here's the thing. People ask all kinds of questions, but sometimes it's not only the wrong time, it's the wrong platform. And I'm going to ask you a couple general questions. If you're here on any of the platforms, chime in. How many people are, if you're on LinkedIn at the moment, if you happen to be watching me on LinkedIn and you go to your DMs, how many times or have you ever gotten what looks like an endless DM in length, endless, with a sea of questions that lead at the bottom to some opportunity you've never asked for from someone you have no idea who they are? And you see this sea of words and checks and bullet points and emojis on your DMs. Here's your question. Have you ever responded yes to any of that ever? So here's my answer. Never, not once, not ever. I've never read to the bottom, not even out of mindless curiosity, not even in my best afternoon sitting on a beach thinking I'm in the best mental frame of mind ever. I'm going to read a 7-page LinkedIn DM from a stranger. Okay. Email questionnaires. I just thought I'll send you some preliminary questions by email so that you'll be ready for my meeting. Notice how selfish that sounds? Have you ever had anybody fill out the questionnaire? Nobody. Not ever. Does it advance a relationship? Nope. No, sir, no, ma'am. Nope, not ever. Okay? Here's the deal. The timing of the questions, this is your bonus. The sorts of questions that you ask, the timing, and the platform means everything, folks. You're so excited about your ability to traverse on social media, and you're leaving long, windy DMs. Don't, don't. Or long emails, or here you go, texts, long, outrageous texts, whether it's a text message or WhatsApp. And every time and listen, I sound so old and archaic. Every time I pull up a WhatsApp, I'm like, oh my God, what's up with this? Right. And like, oh, I don't need every single platform as an opportunity for somebody to download their every thought they've ever had. Okay. So you want to get to the finish line. It's the types of questions that you ask in the opportunity at the right time. You're not sure what the right time is? Honest to God, think about this. Think about it, which is, will this make the receiver's life, job, circumstances easier or harder as a result of me sending or saying this? And the answer always has to be easier. I've done work for you. I'm only asking, did I get it right? It's an easy question, because even if they say, nah, it's not at all what I want. We talked about my furniture example today. One of my larger clients, they had a couple of companies I was with. They happened to be retailers and furniture people. They were glad to tell you when you didn't have the information right. But here's a bad time to ask them, which is at the meeting, well, hey, do you want to work with television or radio or whatever? It's like, yo, I'm going to plant this one seed as a reminder. Remember nothing else, right? So again, the questions you ask, the timing of those questions, and the platform in which you ask. Detailed questions, I want to learn more about you, require effort on your part, okay? And anything that is some sort of an elaboration, they should hear your voice and even better, feel your presence. Okay? This is relationship building. These are not to-dos. They owe you nothing. So long, detailed, tell me about yourself. Don't. But again, as I said, it's the platform too. If they've got a relationship with you, if they like you, if you demonstrated you've earned their trust and the ability to ask a question, they'll correct you. They'll be okay with it because you've earned it, So please do that for me, which is today, this afternoon, folks. All right. As you have your next client conversation, your next business meeting, approaching your next vendor, if you are a B2B or B2C person, it works the same way. Number one, go back to old school. Do your homework. Don't get so excited for your big meeting that you're some sloppy, unprepared. Oh, I brought everybody Starbucks and nothing else. Okay. I don't drink coffee, and certainly not in the afternoon. Jacks me up. And now you're going to make me do work on a Friday at 2:00. No. So do your homework. Ask leading questions that help somebody. Okay. And brief, really brief. If it's text, email, or DM, really brief. Any questions that require somebody to air out a little bit, earn the right, and you should be speaking those questions, whether it is phone call or in person. Folks, when you do that, you will advance the race, the sales cycle, the job cycle, right? The advancement. You want to keep your seat in the boardroom. You want to be a part of future business plan meetings. Again, do your homework. Ask prepared questions for people that have a million things on their mind. Trust me, you demonstrating you do the work when you ask the question, hey, I saw this and this and this. Am I seeing it correctly? Hey, I was looking at this article. I was looking on Google. I saw this. Is this still current and relevant, or am I heading in a wrong direction? People love when you're trying to help them. So your questions should prove it. Okay. So again, this afternoon, the next business conversation you have, take one step back before you propel forward. Do a little bit of homework, prior notes. If you've had prior conversations with somebody, even if it's in writing, go back to your prior notes. What did they say prior so that they are respected? If you have not had that conversation, for God's sake, Google, YouTube, find them. Find something recent and relevant and see if it is still recent and relevant and important to them. Follow up on that. Help them, okay? And when you do, you're really demonstrating a service mentality, not just a can I bring you Starbucks, okay? Not that there's a damn thing wrong with that. So, folks, that's what I got for you today. I am really grateful for the fact that you show up for me, and I want to continue to be able to show up for you. So, thanks for making this time for me. And again, one last roll call. If you happen to be here and you're showing up live for me, drop a note in the comment because I'd like to thank you and shout you out right now. I don't mean show you up or anything weird, right? But thrilled that you're showing up for me. But if you want to find me, you want to talk in more specifics, the questions you've got for your next meeting, the project that you've been entrusted to propose, your next sales presentation, client meeting, sales training, webinar for your team, talk to me. See that big QR code? It's pretty, ain't it? Duffin Media, your message received when I podcast. Duffin Coaching. I get to help with a lot of different things, and I would happily help you. Just hit that QR code, and you will find me. It goes right to my website. And your last takeaway, no homework, right? But I've been putting out this handy dandy tip sheet, right? Checkpoint in terms of your communications. It's one of these things, I call it my tip checklist, right? I would say this is a cool thing to have on your desk, in your office, on your whiteboard, right? Or whatever color board works best for you. Where you can literally check off, did I do certain things? Did I say or do or prepare accordingly before I go into that meeting? Okay. All you need to do to get that, you see it on the bottom of it. It's not a vision test, right? My email address. I'm putting it in all caps. Don't you hate when people do that? Like I said, like I'm screaming. I'm not. But my email address is jd@duffinmedia.com. I'm not screaming. I just have a loud voice. jd@duffinmedia.com. You show up, like I said, for that, I will get you that checklist. Just drop me an email. You want to say nothing more than tips or checklist or hey, yo, whatever it happens to be if you're in Philadelphia. Love our Philly accent. So I thank you folks all for showing up for me today. Guess what else? I get to show up again tomorrow. I will be here. Time to be determined, but highly likely, we go back to our 12 noon time. So I want to make sure that you know, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for showing up for me. John Duffin, Duffin Media. Thanks again. Make it a wonderful day. Hey, yo is right, brother. Thanks for your contributions. Hey, yo. Love that guy. Honest to God, love him. All right. Have a great day, all. We'll talk soon. Bye.